Hello. Do you know what today is? That's right. It's May 19th. Happy Malcolm X Day. Today is 96. Malcolm would have been 96 today. But even though he's not with us in person, in flesh, his words, his power, his strength, his commitment to Black empowerment remain with us. Welcome to Escaping the Echo Chamber. Yes, as people who know me know, Malcolm X is somebody who is a constant inspiration to me. And if you just watch this channel, you like, there's a reason why that's on my wall. And there are so many things, like his life just encompassed so many areas. He accomplished so much, and he accomplished so much from an intellectual standpoint in changing, in shifting the perception of people who were lost. And right now, let's keep it real. There's a bunch of us that we're not where we need to be still, which is why it's so important to remember the things. Like this morning, I'm listening to old speeches. I'm listening to Malcolm's speeches, and it's like, yeah, we need that now.
That we have to become involved in a program of re-education to educate our people into the importance of knowing that when you spend your dollar out of the community in which you live, the community in which you spend your money becomes richer and richer. The community out of which you take your money becomes poorer and poorer. And because these Negroes who have been misled and misguided are breaking their necks to take their money and spend it with the man is becoming richer and richer, and you're becoming poorer and poorer. And then what happens? The community in which you live becomes a slum. It becomes a ghetto. The conditions become run down. And then you have the audacity to complain about poor housing in a rundown community. Why, you run it down yourself when you take your dollar.
You have people who are called Black leaders, but it's not new. So the people, the so-called Black leaders of today, who are actually just shills working for some white organization that has an agenda that is often hostile to Black people, they're not new. Like, they didn't just start. Malcolm was calling those people out back then too. They've existed for a very long time. And by knowing the history, by understanding the history, by recognizing history, we'll be able to see, like, we won't have to start from scratch. Like he talked about these puppets, these leaders that were actually puppets, that were working on behalf of the establishment, the structure, to further their agenda, while, you know, pretending to be fighting for us. And it's like, I really appreciated seeing him not just give speeches, but go toe to toe with these individuals and just demolish them intellectually, just completely destroy them. And so yeah, like, you know how they have these clips all over YouTube now. X person just destroys Y person. Yeah, Malcolm X was destroying people decades ago. And just showing them how ridiculous their arguments were, how baseless their positions were, and there's so much to learn. So if you just take a look at the fact that, one, intellect, just not ignoring the importance of intellect is a fool's errand. It's like that's how you lose. That's how you wind up getting tricked. That's how you wind up getting hoodwinked. That's how you wind up getting played and just completely screwed over and wondering what happened.
After he put down that march on Washington, and you see all through that now, he tricked you, had you marching down to Washington. Yes, had you marching back and forth between the feet of a dead man named Lincoln and another dead man named George Washington, singing "We Shall Overcome."
But he wasn't some, you know, he didn't go to these big colleges and get indoctrinated by the establishment that he was fighting against. He taught himself. So a lot of people know about how he read the dictionary cover to cover. And that's the thing, because I'm trying to remember who I was having a conversation with recently about the talking white. And there are some people who claim that by speaking a certain type of English, proper English, you're talking white. Listen to the way Malcolm spoke. Now, there's not a chance you're going to try to say Malcolm was talking white. What Malcolm was speaking English better than the white man who had been to these colleges, who considered themselves mental giants. He ran circles around them with the language. And so that's what's one of the things to realize is the purpose of language is to be able to communicate ideas. If you don't have the words, you may not, it's hard to have the ideas. So by having a more precise language, a larger vocabulary, is the manner in which you can express more complex, more advanced, more nuanced ideas to others, and even understand it for yourself. Because and I say nuanced and complex because if you take a look at, there are so many words that that have similar meanings, but there's differences to them. There are subtle, slight differences between these words, and they represent differences in ideas, in concepts, in philosophies, in a whole host of areas. And so being able to express the differences between these concepts, these ideas, these areas, gives you the ability to further conceptualize and more precisely conceptualize, the reality of what's the world around us. But that's when, like, Malcolm's mastery of language is what allowed him to just utterly just because they would play games. They would try to play games, to craft narratives and to dissuade action, to try to control, you shouldn't be doing it this way. You should be doing it this way. And then he'd be like, oh no, you're in no moral position, and then he'd do the parable things. It's like the rapist asking the raped, why do you hate me? He says, you're in no moral position to be asking that question. You're violating people, and now you think you're in a position to ask to make demands and moral demands of somebody else, for them to talk about how, oh, he's so violent. And now and it's funny because as much as they tried to claim that Malcolm was violent and advocating for violence, he didn't actually engage in violence. He talked about self-defense, and he remained prepared for self-defense. But when they actually had to acknowledge this at one point, where they're like, well, there's incidents happening, and he's like, yes, be glad we're not going out and just slaughtering people. We're not doing that. So don't get it twisted. We're advocating for defense. We're preparing ourselves to defend ourselves. But at the same point, don't go around telling this lie that we are violent when, in fact, we're not. And like Malcolm, so I was listening to the ballot or the bullet, and there were so many points within that speech. And by the way, if you like Malcolm X, if you appreciate his contributions, all he has done, as much as I do, or maybe even more, give me a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, and make sure today to, hey, listen to a speech of his, either not even if you don't have time to listen to an entire speech, because Ballad of Bullets like an hour long. Excerpts of speeches, just to hear his voice, to hear his insights, and then to see how applicable so many of those insights are right now. right now. So from 1965 to now, we're in 2021, and so many of these insights, so much of his wisdom that he imparted is still relevant. Like, man, so it's relevant because it tells us about the world around us, but it also tells us, okay, we got to step it up.
People not only have to be re-educated to the importance of supporting black business, but the black man himself has to be made aware of the importance of going into business. And once you and I go into business, we own and operate at least the businesses in our community. What we will be doing is developing a situation wherein we will actually be able to create employment for the people in the community.
Because he's talking about the ownership. He's like, if we want to be, if we want to improve our communities, we've got to build up our communities. We've got to own our communities. So we've got to own the businesses, the stores, the infrastructure in our communities to help build up our communities. Because if we're taking the money from inside our communities and then spending it elsewhere, what are we left with? We're left with slums. And that message, especially where you have the fight right now, the war right now that I see with these Marxists pushing against black ownership. And it's like, no, that's power. Black ownership is power. And it's funny because I talked about how a rather popular rapper and two rappers were having a discussion online, and Malcolm was one of the names. But like, you clearly aren't paying attention to all of what Malcolm was talking about. You did have someone like a Huey P. Newton, who advocated for certain things, but and I think part of that is one of the reasons why I identify so much with Malcolm, with Marcus, because they realized the power of ownership. They weren't, they also realized, because another thing that people like to do, and this is what's interesting, people will try to take these popular figures and twist whatever they believed to fit what they believe. So now here's the thing. I'm constantly of the mind not to deify people. I'm inspired by him. I respect the hell out of Malcolm X, but he was a man. And so keeping that in perspective. And so there are things that I may believe that he doesn't believe. Cool. That he didn't believe. Cool. Now to still respect his character and the courage he had, the courage, the intelligence, the intellect, the ability to not just to lead, but to stand up, and his unapologetically blackness, like his being unapologetically black. Like there's none. There was no. You're not going to get me to be. There's none. I'm not ashamed to be black. I'm not going to kowtow to you. I'm not going to try to cater to your feelings if they're hurt. No, no, it's not happening. There's you. This is who I am. This is who I'm fighting for. Deal with it, but just keep it moving. That's it. Just, there was no fear. And
when we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it.
It's something that is so sorely missing today, particularly in leadership, because I think that's one of our greatest problems right now. We have lack of actual black leadership. We have the puppets, as Malcolm X called them, shills as I call them. They're paid to promote agendas that are not the black community's agendas, and are oftentimes, anti-black agendas. But that's their job. They're paid well to do it, and they will fight for their positions, and they will try to convince the rest of us that, yeah, this is the way we need to go. But it's that point what I want to talk about is where your people try to twist, like Malcolm's words. They'll take a sentence or two, try to take it out of context, and try to run with it like, oh yeah, Malcolm would have been with us. I just saw a ridiculous quote about somebody comparing like, this is ridiculous. Like, it was like, never put Malcolm X's name in the same sentence as certain other people. And some of those other people that I may be talking about are nowhere on his level. One of those people that, some people try to put in the same sentence is somebody like a Larry Elder. Now, you notice I literally did not put Malcolm and this other person's name in the same sentence. Like, I literally intentionally did that. Because this dude, like, Malcolm was a leader. Malcolm was brilliant. Malcolm was unapologetically black. You've got people who are doing the same things like that Malcolm called out. But people want to take a quote. So they want to take a look at a quote like the wolf and the fox. They're talking about, oh yeah, he called the white liberals, they're foxes. They trick black people into gaining their trust, but really they're just trying to devour them. So yeah, he would have been a conservative, he would have been a Republican, and it's like, oh, stop. Okay, in this scenario, the fox is the white liberal, and their objective is to eat black persons, right? Black people, right? To devour black people. Who's the wolf? So miss me with the nonsense, people. Don't try to take to make Malcolm fit your false narratives and to justify your shilling, your puppetry for these institutions. I don't care whether you're shilling for Trump or you're shilling for Biden. You're shilling. Y'all are puppets. Y'all are the people Malcolm called out. And I love that he called these people out. And he would go toe to toe with these people and just utterly embarrass them, completely expose them and destroy them. But it's like I said, listening to the Ballad of the Bullet this morning and seeing how he was talking about the importance of building up the black community and he's talking about economic empowerment. He was talking about owning our own businesses, investing in our own communities. And he was, and so one of the things he talked about in the Ballad of the Bullet reminds me of my time inside.
You can see, brothers and sisters, today, this afternoon, it's not our intention to discuss religion. We're going to forget religion. If we bring up religion, we'll be in an argument. And the best way to keep away from arguments and differences, as I said earlier, put your religion at home, in the closet. Keep it between you and your God. Whether you are a Christian or a Muslim or a nationalist, we all have the same problem. They don't hang you because you're a Baptist, they hang you because you're black. They don't attack me because I'm a Muslim, they attack me because I'm black.
Because while I was inside, there's something we would do. There's a bunch of us conscious brothers that were from different religious backgrounds. So you had NOI, you had Moorish Science Temple, you had Christian, you had Jehovah's Witness, you had 5%ers, you had, let me see, did I miss anybody? Like, yeah, you had all these different brothers from different religious backgrounds, but we would come together because our religion is the religion. What we are is we're still black men. And Malcolm specifically talked about that in that speech. He talked about how he's like, we're different religions, but we're not going to talk about religion, because if we talk about religion, we're gonna just wind up arguing and we get nowhere. He says, like, we're not being lynched, murdered, targeted, harassed, degraded for being Muslim, Christian, whatever. They're coming after us because we're black. And we need to remember this. And so remembering this, that, Yes, we have our different religions, but we're still black. We still come together. We still work together. We still build together to empower our community and provide an actual future, to actually stop the negative, the oppression, the evils that are being committed against us, to actually hold, to see accountability for, the government and the officials that are playing games. And he called out, and yeah, he did do a lot of calling out the Democrats in that, because in this speech, we've already established that who the wolf is. So now he spent a lot of that speech calling out the fox, making sure everyone could identify and notice the fox, because he talked about how and it's interesting because they had the Congress, they had the Senate, they had the Senate, they had the House of Representatives, and yet, stuff wasn't getting done. And he's like, they're making excuses. And like right now in 2021, the Democrats have the House, have the Senate, they have the White House. What's getting done? Look at the excuses being made. Like just the other day, I saw a clip of Clyburn talking about how qualified immunity, the time isn't now for qualified immunity. Wait a minute. If the Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the White House, how is now not the time to end qualified immunity? How is now not the time for accountability for police in their extrajudicial killings and just extrajudicial activity and their unconstitutional activity? How is now not the time? But he's like, he broke it down, and listening to, I have when I was in school, when I was younger in school, I wasn't really a big fan of history. As I've grown older, and as I'm trying to, I'm getting involved, as I am involved, in activism, politics, in drafting policy, history is like the importance is further impressed upon me, much more greatly felt by me, because like we don't have to start from scratch. And when you hear somebody like Malcolm breaking down the realities of then and seeing the parallels, and in some cases just the exact same situations existing today, it's like, wow. But yeah, so happy Malcolm X Day. What is your favorite quote? What is your favorite aspect of Malcolm, his personality? Write it down in the comments. If he has a favorite line, if you love that by any means necessary, his speech, Ballad of the Bullet, like anything about him that you personally found inspirational, and just like I said, put it in the comment section and let me know, because I want to know. So thank you for checking out this episode of Escaping the Echo Chamber. As always, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. And if you're, and no, I don't want to, this one, not today with the thumbs down. No, not today. Thumbs up or just keep it moving, all right? Thank you for checking out this episode. I'll see you next time.